Quick heads up, this story gets graphic and disturbing. Viewer discretion advised.
All of America watched this tragedy. Even the cops cried like babies. In the morning, 14-year-old Harley tells his mom he feels sick, does not want to go to school. She does not believe him, sends him anyway. It is the last time she will see him. When he is reported missing, a massive search begins with helicopters, the FBI, watched by the whole country. After 25 days, the police finally decide to check the empty house right across the street. They find nothing, until they look inside an old, narrow chimney. What they saw inside made even hardened detectives walk outside, cry like children. Don't forget to write in the comments where you're from, what city, what time it is, write the name of your pet. For a subscription, I'll kiss all of you on all your smooth spots. Just kidding, of course, or maybe not. Alright, so meet Harley Dilley. He was born in Ohio on August 12, 2005, to his parents Marcus and Heather Dilley. His story, let's just say, did not get off to a great start. When he turned 1, the family decides that Ohio is too boring. They move to Port Clinton. It is a kind of tourist town on the shore of Lake Erie. In the summer, there are festivals, boats, beaches, in short, a paradise for vacationers, a hell for the locals who have to fight through crowds of tourists just to get a loaf of bread. In the winter, there is skiing, snowboarding. It sounds like a great place to grow up, right? But our Harley, as it turned out, was more of a homebody than a fan of the fresh air. His father, Marcus, worked on a garbage truck. His mother, Heather, had her own small business. She made leggings called Dilley's Designs, a kind of at-home fashion startup. This allowed her to work from home, which, as it turned out later, was very convenient, because Harley needed a lot of her attention. At 5 years old, he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. This, in case you are not aware, is an autism spectrum disorder that affects communication. But overall, he could do most things on his own. Like many children with this diagnosis, he had his quirks. He was, just an incredibly picky eater. Not just, I do not like broccoli, but I only eat a certain brand of frozen pizza, chicken nuggets of a certain shape, and French fries. The texture, you see, was not right. He did not like to play outside because he did not like the feel of grass. Grass. Everyone has their own weird things, right? But here, it seems, there was a whole farm of them. Right here, folks, is where the family drama begins, crazier than a soap opera. Harley had an older sister, Ashlyn, who was 12 when he was born. As her mother told it, she had a hard time accepting her brother's special needs. So hard that, according to Heather, Ashlyn mistreated him a few times when he was very young. Because of this, Harley was even diagnosed with PTSD. This was one of the first bells that made people think that not everything was so smooth in that house. There were also a lot of problems with Ashlyn herself. She ran away from home, got into trouble. When she turned 21, she had a son, Rory, and quickly gave him to her parents, who then adopted him. So, Harley's nephew became his younger brother. Yes, I know, it sounds like a plot from some TV show. Then Ashlyn had another child, the same story, gave that one up for adoption. Imagine a child with a sensory processing disorder living in a house with constant screaming, fighting. Harley, of course, withdrew into himself. His world became his hobbies, which grew into obsessions. He knew everything about sports, every statistic, every player, every score, and, of course, video games. His Xbox Live became a place where he could communicate. But besides that, he had another diagnosis, oppositional defiant disorder. This, simply put, means he was in constant conflict with authority figures, like parents, teachers. He was suspended from school. At home, his parents had a hard time controlling him. If a detail went against his plan, or he was forbidden to play, it often ended in a meltdown. His parents even called the police a few times. It seemed that, as long as everything went according to his routine, things were more or less normal. But, as we know, life is unpredictable. In 2019, his mom, Heather, got seriously ill, even spent 25 days in a coma. When she came out of it, she started having memory problems. During this time, Harley and Rory were cared for by their grandparents. For Harley, this was a real stress, having strangers in his house, a disruption of his routine. When Heather came back, she could no longer give him as much attention as before. Harley, like many of us looking for connection, went on YouTube. But instead of just watching, he decided to start creating his own videos.
What's up, boys? It's your boy, Harley Dilley. I'm back at it like a crack addict. And today, oh boy, the depression is over. The channel it's a channel.
So what does a teenager looking for connection do in the 21st century? That is right. he goes on YouTube. Harley started making videos about sports, games, and sometimes even did vlogs and live streams. And, he was just thrilled when he finally hit, get this, 100 subscribers. Yes, for some people that might be funny, but for him it was a real achievement. He even set a goal to reach 1,000 in 2020. But his grand plans for a YouTube career, let's just say, were brutally destroyed. And by whom? Well, of course, by his parents. After another fight, they did what all parents do when they want to punish a gamer kid. They took away his most prized possession, his Xbox, and that was it. The world stopped. Yes, he could still play games on his phone or his school laptop, but streaming on the Xbox was a no-go. He, of course, tried to find a way around it. He went to a friend's house who had an Xbox, but it just was not the same. Then, as if that was not enough, the charging port on his school laptop breaks, and what does his mom say? That is right, she is not paying for it. The best way to support your kid. So, when this happened, Harley, deprived of his main outlet, did what all hurt teenagers do. He made a video in which he told everyone what was going on at his home.
Hey guys, what's up? It is Harley Dilly. Probably one of my worst days in my life. So, basically, I was at school and I was science test. I finished it and my computer says 1% battery left. So I get to the next class and I put it on charger as quick as possible, but it didn't charge. None of the computers would take a charge. So I took it back and I had to fill out a complaint, and that's one of the most expensive parts of the computer. And my mom said she's not paying anything. That's when I got home. So then my mom wanted me to go with her to go get a friend, and I said I don't want to. I have work to do, so I want to go home and stay. So she said no. We argued for about a good 5 minutes. And then she snapped. She said she was gonna call the police, and she said she already did. She said, who do you think that first call was to? And she said it was the police, but I knew it wasn't, because she wouldn't do that, because I know it wasn't, because I went to my school and I went to talk to my assistant principal, because he's like the only person I can really trust in this. So I went to talk to him, and he told me that my mom never called the police. So she lied to me to get me scared, and she locked me out of the house. So right now I'm outside. Yep, the house is locked. It is 3:30. I haven't ate anything, and I still haven't even got to get my work done. My mom's gone. She won't answer the phone. So right now I'm alone outside. I got nothing better to do, so what's the point? So I thought I would stream this, because I'm not doing a video of this. I legit was scared, because I thought I was about to have to go to DH for 30 days, because that's if I get another complaint to the police, I'm going to DH for 30 days. I mean, I've already took a YouTube leave, but I'm trying to do stuff, guys. If you knew what was going on in my life. It's just been a horrible week.
Many of Harley's videos, of course, were deleted from YouTube. Well, because who needs proof that not everything in a family is so perfect, right? But one video still remained. And in it, like a cherry on top, you can hear his parents in the background, well, let's just say, having a constructive dialogue. In plain English, they are fighting. And not just fighting. Marcus is yelling and cursing at 4-year-old Rory. 4 years old, folks, a great role model. But let us get back to Harley. On December 17th, he reportedly spilled a detail and accidentally broke the screen on his phone. Well, his phone. It was one of his mother's old phones that she had given him. He, of course, asked her to fix it. And what does his mom say? That is right. No. Because, she said, he is always breaking them, and she is not a millionaire to buy a new iPhone every week. And what does Harley do when he hears no? He takes the phone, goes to his room, and smashes it to pieces. The logic, of course, is flawless. A genius plan. If it breaks completely, she will have no choice but to buy him a new one. But his parents, you have to give them credit, decided not to reward this behavior and said, if you want a new phone, you have to earn it. And you know, that sounds fair. But if you consider that we are talking about a teenager who has trouble controlling his emotions, this moment for him was much more important than just a broken phone. After this incident, his mom, Heather, decides that the best thing she can do is to air all this family drama out in public. She writes a post on Facebook, and there, folks, it is a whole poem. She writes about this being an example of what happens when he has a meltdown, how he curses, screams, acts out, and threatens her. Then, a sharp turn to her own suffering. She writes about being lost, how she wants to just crawl into a hole and disappear. She even starts philosophizing about God's will. Of course, it all ends with a classic line, that she is having a pity party for herself because she can, judge her or not, but she is human. So, basically, she threw herself a pity party right there on Facebook. A classy move. Heather said that it was common for Harley to go to a friend's for the night or just go for a walk to cool off. And his parents, it seems, were not against it. Well, because it was obviously easier for them to deal with him when he was not at home. But their neighborhood, let's just say, was not the best place for a teenager to be walking around at night without a phone. Literally, next door to their house was a recovery center for people struggling with addiction. And neighbors said that sometimes, very strange individuals lived there. Since Harley did not have a phone, most parents would probably worry if their child was just wandering around on their own. But Heather and Marcus, it seems, did not. On Thursday evening, December 19th, Heather went to a friend's house and Marcus stayed with the boys. Around 10:30, she went into Harley's room, saw that he was asleep, and turned off the TV. Everything was normal. The next morning, on Friday, according to Heather, Harley came into her room around 6:50 and said he felt sick and did not want to go to school. But she did not believe him. She knew he often faked it. And what is most interesting, he had a court date coming up soon for hitting another student. So maybe he really did not want to go to school. She made him go. Heather said that a few minutes later, she heard the door slam and thought he had left. Later that day, she saw a missed call from the school, reporting that Harley was absent. But her voicemail was full, and the school could not leave a message. A small detail you can just forget about. Marcus, Heather, and Rory got home around 3:30, and Harley was not there yet. What do? That is right. They think he probably went to a friend's house, and they go Christmas shopping. Then they even have dinner at a bar. They assumed that Harley might be spending the night at a friend's. The next day, on Saturday, he was still not home. Here they started to think it was a little strange. Because he usually came back to take a shower. He had his rituals, but his parents thought he was probably still upset about that darn phone. And you know what they do? Nothing. They do not call his friends. They do not call their parents. They just go about their business. Only when he missed his curfew on Saturday night did they finally realize that a detail could be very wrong. Around 11:45, almost 41 hours after they last saw him, Marcus finally went to the police. For the next few hours, they drove around to Harley's friends' houses, but he was nowhere to be found. At 2:30 in the morning, the police issued a missing person alert. The next morning, they were informed that Harley had not been at school on Friday. The police chief posted that they believed it was a runaway case. But the family knew that for Harley to miss a shower and not come home was something extraordinary. They knew something very, very bad had happened.
Autistic, he has Asperger's. He has oppositional defiant disorder, PTSD from his sister beating him with a belt when he was 2. Sensory processing disorder. Anger issues. In fact, the school was going to be doing like an anger management and a mediation between him and the boy that one of the incidents was with. And I asked, did they do anything? And they said they hadn't got to it yet. So.
Thursday, you said he met your granddaughter?
Yes. Marcus was still hungry, so I said, well, where do you want me to go? He said Arby's, so I was there. Then I went straight home. When I got home, Harley was home. But I didn't, go talk to him or anything. And then before I went to bed, I went to check because he likes to leave his TV on or his glasses. And I opened the door, nothing was on, glasses off, he was asleep.
What time do you think that was?
10:30, 11. This isn't him. He should have already had multiple baths. He eats certain colors, he has sensory processing. He loves his hot fries. He loves his pizzas. And it's gotta be bacon pepperoni. He loves his chicken patty, certain kind of chicken patty. I mean, this isn't his nature at all. Okay. And my parents were like, "Oh, just stay positive, stay positive." But me as a mom, this is starting to get too real.
Okay.
This isn't him. He's a mama's boy. I mean, through and through, he's a mama's boy. He loves to give him hugs. Because from the last time the police were at our house, when he attacked his dad, that's when we told the police, okay, take the Xbox box, let him think you're throwing it away. We never gave it back to him. So he's just about gaming. This boy still plays with wrestlers in the tub. He's very smart. I mean, we just went to the doctor on November 10th because of his behaviors. And even then, she's like, "Harley, you need to get everything in line." She knows him. She's been seeing him for years. He's so routine. This is not like him. And his sister beat the shit out of him. So I don't, he has PTSD from her. It's just, this isn't him.
So he had your phone that he broke.
My old phone.
Because the screen on his was broke.
Is what we're assuming. We didn't know his was broke at all.
Okay.
Had I known it was broke, we have insurance. But it's still $50. But his Chromebook's broke at school too. And they wanted me to give $100. I said, no. It wasn't broke when he left. When we were at middle school, we had an agreement with the principal.
So the cops, of course, started digging. And they found a video from that same Thursday evening when Heather, I remind you, was hanging out at a friend's house, showing off her new leggings. The recording shows Harley running out of the house around 8 in the evening, and then just 8 minutes later, he runs back in. 8 minutes, folks. What the heck can you even do in 8 minutes? When the cops showed this to his parents, they just threw up their hands. They had no idea. And honestly, this is where some third grade math just does not add up. It is a longer run to any of his friends' houses. Much longer. Okay, maybe he ran to his favorite store? Well, even if he ran like Usain Bolt, grabbed the first thing he could find, and checked out with no line, that still takes more than 8 minutes. But, and this is probably the most important part, Harley had no money, and nothing was missing from the house. So, what the heck was he doing outside for those 8 minutes? Did he just run out for some fresh air? It just did not make any sense at all.
They have found video footage of Harley leaving the house around 8 o'clock at night, that he would have been back by then. And it was around the house that he left your house and went somewhere for roughly 8 minutes and came right back. Are any of his friends that close that he could have gone to their house and come back?
In 8 minutes?
Yes. They found it odd that he left quickly for a very short period of time, which was 8 minutes, and then came running back to the house and went back in the house.
The only person that's close, the closest friend is James Crow. He's on 7th Street. I don't know anybody else over by our house.
I don't know where 7th Street is.
Yeah.
Like, could you make it to 7th Street in that amount of time if you... I don't know. I don't even have a map to know, I guess.
Okay, here's my house, which
Okay.
is 5th.
Okay.
Here's Fulton. The first street is 6th, next one is 7th.
Any stores nearby that he would often go
There's
out?
he loves to go to the corner store, that drive-through, because they got his hot fries and his cheddar fries.
Could you make that in the 8 minutes? Just because we're not from
I would
here,
say that's the closest, but
Would you have money to do that?
not from us.
Okay.
Not
Maybe money in the house hidden somewhere that he would know.
You know, it's funny you said that because after all this happened, I checked and all the change is still in all the jars.
Okay.
But I didn't know about the credit card they found, the prepaid card in his room either, in his name. So, but are you serious? He left the house at 8 like that?
Mhm.
Why didn't Marcus say something?
I don't think you do. So we didn't know what would be in a close vicinity that he would run to quickly.
I don't know. I really don't. I have no clue.
So, what was he doing for those 8 minutes? Meeting someone. None of his friends knew a thing. On December 23rd, the police chief reached out to the community, asking for help in the search. And the local news, you gotta give them credit, quickly picked up this story. That is when people started sending in tips about Harley's YouTube channel. And some of the videos, of course, gave the detectives some concern. In one of them, Harley was sitting in a bathtub without a shirt on, answering questions from subscribers. And, you know, for a 14-year-old kid, that can attract, let's just say, the wrong kind of people. Especially since he, what a guy, had left his address and phone number out there for everyone. So, detectives started looking into the theory that he might have met up with a person he connected with through YouTube or Xbox. But, man, 8 minutes? That is a very short meeting, right? The parents' families also came to help. On December 24th, the police upgraded the alert to child in danger. It was clear that Harley would not be home for Christmas. On Christmas Day, police released a surveillance image that they believe showed Harley, but it was very blurry. The police chief even called all officers back from vacation to intensify the search. On December 26th, all possible agencies joined the case, including local, state, and federal. 12 K9 teams, drones, helicopters, but nothing. The police chief explained why an Amber Alert was not issued, because there was no direct evidence of a kidnapping. When asked why the parents reported him missing so late, he replied that it was common for Harley to leave for the night to cool off. A search of the house turned up nothing. On December 27th, the FBI joined the search. The chief even addressed Harley directly through the media, promising to personally pick him up if he called. The Dilley family stayed silent. Only Heather wrote emotional posts on Facebook. In one of them, she wrote about how scared she was of losing control. She said she just wanted him home, that she needed him, that she loved him so much. She wrote about how she missed his hugs, how she could not clean his room, how she had not taken down the Christmas tree because he had not celebrated Christmas with them. She complained that everyone was judging her and not seeing what was happening behind closed doors, how her husband could not sleep and would go out searching at 2 in the morning, how she was constantly crying but trying to be strong for her younger son. It was a cry from the heart. On December 29th, Harley's grandfather spoke at a candlelight vigil, saying the uncertainty was just tearing their family apart.
I'm Harley's grandfather, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out for our family. You don't know how it's tearing us up. It could happen to anybody's child. Like the Reverend said, social media has done nothing but ruin a generation of children. It's tearing everybody apart, separating families and ruining everybody's life. My grandson had issues, and he wasn't a perfect boy, but he was a good boy, and he loved his mother, and he loved his family.
And nobody's perfect.
And again, all I can say is it could happen to anybody. Thank you so very much for coming out and supporting us at this time, because I don't know what we'd do without all of you.
So picture this, a vigil. Everyone is grieving, candles are lit. And then the pastor gets up and basically says, folks, quiet down, stop gossiping. I mean, asking people not to talk about a mysterious disappearance when that is all anyone is thinking about. Because, of course, what happened next? The armchair detectives came out in full force. And what is the number one theory when a kid goes missing and the parents start acting, well, weird? Well, of course, the parents did it. And honestly, looking at the whole story, how tired they were of his issues, how they did not want to pay for the phone, people's suspicions do not seem so baseless. And Heather, instead of maybe keeping quiet, does what everyone who feels attacked in the 21st century does. She goes on Facebook and she writes a post, but it is not so much about the search for her son. It is more about how she, poor thing, is sick of everyone judging her. And the internet, as we know, is the place where everyone is a body language expert. People started breaking down her videos frame by frame. And, of course, they came to the conclusion that she never shed a single real tear. I mean, maybe she just ran out of tears, or maybe not.
Fine, you all want to see what I look like when I'm not taking my meds to help. You want to know what it's like to have a son missing. It hurts. It makes you feel like you can't go on, but you have to go on. You don't understand. You seriously don't know what it feels like. Stop bashing my family. Harley, please come home. Please come home.
Absent.
Let him go. Please. I want him home. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of being strong when I can't be. You guys are such monsters. I can't believe that you would be like this to a family that's not got their son. He is my son. I love him. And I want him home. Let him go if you have him. Let our family move on. Please. Harley, if you see this, Mom loves you so much. I'm tired of holding on. I want you home. I can't do this. I don't want to die again. Please, Harley, I need you. I am so tired of you, You people are so mean. You people are so cruel. Just think of him. I don't care what you think of me or my husband. Please, just please leave us alone if you're gonna be mean. Just look for him. Please, I beg of you to please look for him. He is my son. He is a child. He is innocent. You guys can judge us when he comes home, but until then, you let him be. You let him be. You just search. Please pray for us. I've never prayed so hard in my life.
So on December 31st, while everyone is getting ready for New Year's, buying champagne, and planning how they are going to pretend to start a new life on January 1st, the police decide to make an official statement. They come out and say, "We do not believe the Dilly family is involved. They are fully cooperating." Well, of course. What else are they going to say? Yes, we suspect them, but we have no evidence, so that is that for now. A great PR move to calm down the public, who were already starting to ask uncomfortable questions. And so, New Year's comes. Everyone is celebrating, setting off fireworks, and in one family, there is an empty seat at the table and not a single man word about their son. No leads, no evidence, nobody knew a thing. The cops, of course, keep searching all the places where Harley might hang out. The standard list, like parks, abandoned buildings, and favorite stores. They even checked places he seemingly could not have gotten to on his own. Well, because you have to show that work is being done, right? But his parents, Heather and Marcus, insisted that Harley was not the type to just leave home. Even with all their fights, he was not a runaway. By January 2nd, the reward for information was increased to $9,325. Not 9,000, not 10, but 9,325. Who even comes up with amounts like that? Is that like they just emptied all the money from their pockets and that is what they came up with? I do not know. And, of course, the police finally do the thing they should have done right away. They request footage from every surveillance camera in the area. On January 3rd, the thing everyone was waiting for finally happens. Heather and Marcus appear on television for the first time. And right here, folks, the real show begins.
Mother waiting for her missing son to walk back into her arms.
I have to get up every day and look in that room and he's not there.
For the first time since her son's disappearance, the mother of Harley Dilly is speaking on camera.
Today marks 2 weeks since the 14-year-old from Port Clinton went missing. News 5's Olivia Fecto talked to his mother, who says there are no words to describe what she and her family are going through.
The reward for information leading to Harley Dilly's safe return is now up to nearly $10,000. His mother is pleading for him to come home safe.
There's no words for any of this. I would never want anybody to go through this. I mean, somebody had to have seen something.
Inside her home on East 5th Street in Port Clinton, Heather Dilley has spent the last 14 days hoping her son Harley will come home to her. She's learning through experience, investigations take time.
You see everything on TV, you watch all these crime shows, and you think, oh, that's never going to happen, and they solve it in an hour. It doesn't take an hour to find out everything.
Port Clinton police say 14-year-old Harley was last seen Friday, December 20th, between 6 and 7 a.m.
Heather, when was the last time you saw him? Was it that morning, Friday morning?
I didn't see him. I talked to him. There's a difference.
But that's all she can say. She's worried sharing more information could jeopardize an open investigation.
Just waiting for him to come home.
For now, she's pleading for her son's safe return.
I love you, Harley. Please come home. Please, we need you. I don't believe that you ran, but if you did, just please, this isn't you.
She's asking her community to help look for her son and begging them to understand her pain.
People are contacting me saying my son's dead. How do you think that makes me? Just pray for him and to share, and please keep your eyes open. Somebody knows something. I mean, geez, how can a kid just disappear?
A bunch of people started criticizing Heather for her behavior and statements, saying she did not look sincere enough. A classic of internet investigations. If you are not sobbing on camera 24/7, it means you do not care. Or even better, you are guilty. They even started accusing her of not participating in the searches and just using her health problems as an excuse. On January 4th, Harley's story goes national. At this point, the big players get involved and speculation grows like mushrooms after rain. After almost 2 weeks, his classmates returned to school and his seat at his desk was empty. Counselors were even provided for the kids who had a hard time processing it. On January 8th, the reward for information was increased to over $18,000. Not 18, not 19, but over 18. Who even comes up with these numbers? Just as hope was starting to fade, on January 13th, the local news gets a tip. A whole lot of police had gathered at the house across the street from where the Dilley family lived. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation arrives after them, and a whole crowd forms on the street in front of this house. This house was called empty, though in reality it was just a summer home that had been under renovation for years. The kind of house richer people have to come to for barbecues in the summer, and the rest of the year it just stands there, scaring the neighborhood kids. The crowd that gathered on the street lit candles and prayed, but all that hope, was shattered when the coroner's van pulled up to the house. Since the lights were on inside, eyewitnesses saw a dark burgundy jacket hanging on a door in the window. It became clear to everyone that Harley had been found. And what is even stranger, people saw someone on the second floor hitting something with a hammer. Here's what, as the police chief later explained, happened that night. That day, state investigators asked to be shown around the area. One of the agents, a real meticulous type, asked about that same empty house. The chief explained that it had been checked 100 times, all entrances were locked, and the dogs found nothing. But the agent insisted on another look. It was then that the police chief notices a small lockbox for keys on the door, the kind left for realtors. And his wife, by coincidence, is a realtor. Just perfect, right? He calls her, asks if the house happens to be for sale. She says no, but finds the owners' names. He calls the owners, an elderly couple who live an hour's drive away. They, of course, give permission for a search. They say the key is probably in the box and give him the code. But the box turns out to be empty. Then they remember that they have the keys at their house, and a school resource officer is sent to get them, like an errand boy. When the officer returned with the keys, the chief, a few of his men, an FBI agent, and a marshal went inside. The house was a typical long-term construction project, all covered in dust. The stairs to the second floor were blocked by a wooden panel to avoid heating the extra space. They removed the panel and went upstairs. There, on the floor, they noticed a burgundy puffer jacket. They took a picture of it, showed it to Heather, and she immediately recognized her son's jacket. Right here, instead of turning the whole house upside down, they decided to get an official search warrant. Why? Well, because of lawyers. So, that later in court, no one could find fault. It was at this moment, while they were waiting, that the crowd saw the detective in the lit room next to that same red jacket. The photo instantly went viral on social media. After getting the warrant, a thorough search began. They looked everywhere. The basement openings, one had to be broken down, and near the other, even the weeds were undisturbed. meaning no one had been crawling in there. In the attic, also all dusty, no tracks. Inside the house, there were a bunch of building materials and tools. The house was heated by an electric fireplace, so the chimney, as a possible entry point, was also ruled out. The cops collected DNA samples from all the doorknobs, but basically found nothing to indicate how someone could have gotten inside. So the cops, of course, got out their toys, a forensic vacuum to collect every man's speck of dust from the sofas in the living room. On the second floor, as it turned out, there were 3 rooms. One was empty, one was a storage room that had probably seen better days, and one was a bedroom with a mattress on the floor. You know, that kind of student chic. They, of course, took samples from all the doorknobs, railings, everything that could be touched. Here, it seemed, was the first clue. When they started examining that same burgundy jacket, which one of the detectives, what a guy, had already moved and hung on the door, they noticed a rust-colored substance on it. And what do you think? Blood? Yeah, right. The test was negative. Well, great, nothing again. A Cleveland Browns t-shirt and a sweatshirt were also carefully placed on paper, examined, photographed, and taken as evidence. Then they noticed a weird detail. On the floor, about 1.5 feet from the clothes, lies a metal vent cover. And right above it, in the wall, is a hole. So, a long time ago, there was a furnace here, and now there is just a hole in the wall, which this cover probably sealed. What is most interesting, in the storage room, they found the same kind of ventilation opening, and under it on the floor were glasses, similar to the ones Harley wore. They, of course, took those too. Here, the cops, are just stumped. What is this set of evidence? What the heck does it mean? There is no smell in the house, no signs that anyone was here. And man, the clothes could not have fit through those little holes, even if they were thrown down the chimney. So they decide to stick a camera in there to see what is inside. And of course, they do not see a thing, because it is as dark as a sinner's soul in there. Then one of the detectives decides to take a risk and stick his hand in. When he does, he touches a thing that feels like human hair. Right here, folks, we go back to what the neighbors saw, that same hammering sound. The investigators began to take apart the wall in the storage room. Under the drywall, they found an old brick chimney. And when they removed the bricks one by one, they found him. Harley Dilley's body was inside the chimney. A chimney with a diameter of, get this, 9 by 13 inches. I do not even know how that is possible. That is smaller than a standard sheet of paper. How? Here the police chief, probably to calm everyone down who was in shock, explains how such a thing could have even happened. It turns out that many years ago, when the furnace was removed, some genius of engineering just bricked up the chimney at the level of the second floor. So the bricks created a kind of false floor, and Harley basically got stuck on this false floor inside this narrow man chimney. His position was, well, just horrific. He was almost in a standing position, with his hands raised to his head, and he was wearing only boxer shorts. This is why there was no smell. The chimney, in essence, was sealed. That is why the dogs did not smell a thing. When his body was recovered, they found a few more items at the bottom of the chimney. So, besides him, they also found a pair of sweatpants, boots, a flashlight, and one white and one black sock. Even here, it is a mess.
Just about 10 minutes ago, Terrence, the statewide endangered child advisory was canceled for 14-year-old Harley Dilley. In a very vague release, they just simply said that the child has been recovered. No other details were given surrounding the discovery, but we are expected to learn more at a press conference that is scheduled for noon today. Of course, this comes just after police, BCI, and the coroner's office spent hours searching a vacant house, carrying out several bags of evidence. We also saw a sledgehammer being carried inside the vacant home that they were searching. Now, the house that they were searching was just steps away from where Harley and his parents live. So again, that update from Port Clinton Police, that is a press conference that is scheduled for noon today. We are going to bring that to you live on air and online. For now, live in Port Clinton.
So what was the cops' official theory? The theory, folks, is straight out of some bad movie. They believe that Harley, like some kind of, I do not know, Spider-Man, climbed onto the roof using the TV antenna as a ladder, and then he went down the chimney. Seriously, the chimney. They said the position of his body indicated that he either slid or just fell into this chimney. And right here, folks, is where some advanced physics comes in. Because the chimney, I remind you, was 9 by 13 inches. But the cops believe that while in this narrow space, he somehow managed to take off his clothes. He pushed them through those ventilation openings to, get this, create more room to breathe. How? Seriously, how? Have you ever tried to take off a sweater while sitting in an economy class airplane seat? Now imagine doing that in a brick tube. I do not know. And to make this theory not sound like complete nonsense, they added that the rust-colored dust on the clothes was similar to the color of the bricks in the chimney. And most importantly, inside the house itself, in the rooms, in the living room, they did not find a single man trace to indicate that Harley was ever there at all. Not a speck of dust, not a single print, nothing. And remember how everyone on the internet was screaming that the parents did not care, that they were not showing any emotion? Well, the police chief, that same Hickman, later said a detail. When he had to give Harley's family the news, he saw the very emotions the armchair experts were looking for. The same emotions that no one but him ever saw.
Yes, myself and the victim's advocate from the FBI, we made death notification. It was either 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know you've probably had to do that multiple times before. Was this case any different?
Any death notification literally just is not pleasant. It was tough because for 23 days I was in Harley's life, and both Heather and Marcus, because I was there every day in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. I kept them, apprised of everything that was going on that I could, and they needed that face-to-face contact.
You've built this relationship with them at this point. Do you remember what it was like when you told her? What was her reaction?
It's what any reaction when you tell a mother that their child is no longer coming home. They have closure, but it was bad.
With local, state, and federal officials standing behind him, Port Clinton Police Chief Robert Hickman confirmed that the body of 14-year-old Harley Dilley was found in a house on Fulton Street Monday evening.
Harley's coat, glasses were discovered on the second floor of the house next to a brick chimney. We were then able to discover what we believe to be Harley, who was caught in the chimney.
The chief said the teen's death appears to be accidental.
It appears that Harley climbed an antenna tower to the roof and entered the chimney.
The chief said the teen got trapped in the chimney. He added that Monday was the first day law enforcement searched inside the unoccupied house that is across the street from Harley's home.
We noticed the house, everything was secured. We had no reason to believe anybody was in the house.
Signs are still up at Harley's home. Family members have been searching for the 14-year-old boy since he went missing last month. Family members and many who searched for the teen are heartbroken by the news.
We were out here in rain, going through the woods, looking for him.
The chief says it's hard for him to imagine the heartache and grief Harley's family is going through.
What would your state of mind be if you lost your 14-year-old? I can't put words into that. Can you?
And of course, when everyone found out that he was literally across the street the whole time, well, people just lost their minds. Can you imagine? Everyone is running around, searching for him all over the state, printing flyers, and it turns out he was just 50 meters from his own house. And the cops, probably trying to calm everyone down, put out a version like this. They said to just relax, that he most likely passed away right away, even before you realized he was missing. Well, thanks, that is so comforting. I do not know about you, but that kind of comfort would not have made me feel any better. But, as often happens, an expert came along and ruined that whole comforting story. He said that, in reality, there is no scientific way to know for sure exactly when the boy passed. The official cause of death was explained in a simple way. It means his body was so tightly squeezed in that narrow space that he just could not take a full breath. And according to their assumptions, it was all over within a few hours.
In the death of Harley Dilley, the Lucas County coroner says the 14-year-old most likely died the day he disappeared. A report with the new details was released over the weekend. However, in this report, the coroner does add, quote, "There is no accurate forensic way of determining an exact time of death in such circumstances." The coroner has already ruled Harley's cause of death as compressive asphyxia. He was found in the chimney of an unoccupied home near his own house several weeks after he disappeared. The death has been ruled an accident.
So after this whole tragic story was over, the police made this, noble statement. They announced that the reward money collected for information about Harley would go to cover his funeral costs. And the rest, if there was any, would be donated to the National Center for Missing Children. Well, at least that is one good thing in this story, right? Though, in my opinion, it is small comfort. Harley's funeral was held on Saturday, January 25th, 2020. And so it seemed the official version was an accident. Case closed. But, as we know, the internet never closes a case. And for a lot of people, this story is far from over. And I want to stress, folks, that from here on out, we are going to talk about theories and speculation. This is stuff that has not been officially confirmed. So, as they say, turn on your critical thinking and think for yourselves. A few months after Harley was found, his mom, Heather, decides the best thing she can do is write a post on Facebook, and this post honestly just blew my mind. Because in it, she is not so much grieving as she is making excuses and blaming everyone around her, including Harley himself. She starts by saying how she regrets sending him to school that day. "I was too lazy to get up," she writes. Seriously? That is how you start a post about your deceased son? Then she describes her day in detail. How she went about her business, not knowing her son was not at school. How she tried to wake up a 4-year-old child. How her husband stopped with the garbage truck to pick up some table. Then she talks about how they went out for dinner. "To me, he was at a friend's house," she writes. And then, as if that was not enough, she starts complaining about the haters, the conspiracy theories, about how everyone is judging her, poor thing. She writes, "You made me feel guilty for my innocence. You made me a monster." And, of course, a lot of words about how she misses her son, how she needs him. I do not know about you, but this post seemed more angry and accusatory to me than grieving. But, anger is also a stage of grief. Though, in my opinion, she sounded like a person trying to make excuses, not like a mother who lost a child. And here is where the questions begin that the cops' official version just does not answer. First, the clothes. People on the internet, myself included, started asking a logical question. How the heck could he take off all his clothes except his underwear in a chimney that is 9 by 13 inches? That is physically impossible. One author even made a video with her son, who was a similar size to Harley, and he, of course, could not do it. Yes, there is a video of a grown man squeezing through an even smaller opening, but man, he is not getting undressed in there. And what does the police chief say? He says that children with autism, supposedly, sometimes have problems with spatial awareness, and Harley might not have understood how small the opening was. Seriously? So, he did not realize the hole was smaller than him? When he put his feet in, would he not have felt right away that a detail was wrong? Or did he just jump in there like Santa Claus, hoping to fly out of the fireplace? It just does not make sense. Other YouTubers who investigated this case believe he could have gotten into the house through the basement by removing the screens from the windows. This version, honestly, sounds much more logical than risking a climb to the roof. And, of course, the online petition demanding the parents be held accountable for negligence got thousands of signatures. Because, folks, they waited over 40 hours before reporting him missing. 40 hours. And this is despite Heather herself saying that her son always sticks to his routine. Was the fact that he did not come home to take a shower not a big enough signal? And that missed call from the school. And another detail that just does not sit right with me. In her Facebook statement, Heather writes, "I texted Harley asking, 'Are you coming home?' But wait a minute, his phone was broken." She said so herself. What phone man was she texting? Maybe I am overanalyzing, but a detail here does not add up. There are conspiracy theories too. Some believe that the fresh paint and drywall in the house indicate he could have been placed in the chimney and then walled in. But how did the dust remain undisturbed? That is not logical. And of course, the most popular version among the haters is that Marcus or Heather could have done it themselves and then staged an accident. And honestly, some of Heather's Facebook posts where she wrote about how tired she was of being a mother only add fuel to the fire.
And then I found out he was going back to Danielle and James's house, or Danielle and Junior's house. And I wasn't happy because I don't like Danielle Copel. I've gone there a couple times. She's hit Harley, and it's like, I think she listens to what he would say. "Oh, they're not giving me what I want. They're not feeding me." But that's because we're trying to get him to eat his foods. He needs to eat regular foods. He was just on a football team all summer. Now, you have to understand, I have a bad memory right now because I don't know if you've seen what happened to me.
We're from over by the Youngstown.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about any of this, so please inform us.
February 18th, I think it is, I died 8 times. and was frozen and put in a coma for 25 days. I was in the hospital. So my parents came and they changed the routine and changed things, and he didn't like that. He wasn't happy about that. But then my parents left. I have hypoxia, so sometimes I have a hard time remembering things, you know. And for him, he even put a video, you know, I haven't been online because something bad happened, my mom got sick, you know. So he is definitely a mama's boy. And this is just so not him. And I keep going over in my head. I can't think why he would run. Seriously, I can't. There's no indication. If he was running, then why was he planning on going with us when he normally don't? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the routines. I keep going back to the routines. It's not him. Even if he gets mad at me, or his dad, or his brother, or, you know, anything, school, he will sit there and he will literally just go away, calm down, and come back. It's just his nature, you know? Ever since what happened with me, I guess you could say I have not been there as much as I could for him, as far as making sure, are you okay, kind of thing. But he'll come out, sit with me, cuddle, he'll grab the blanket, you know, he'll want to be with me. So I don't ignore him. I offered to take him to movies.
How did it
My
break?
parents gave him money for his birthday.
Like the screen was broke or it just didn't work? What was he?
The last we knew, he had a crack in the screen, okay? When this incident happened, and I don't even remember what happened, he said, I need a new phone or something came out. And then he showed me the phone, and I'm like, what happened? What did you do? I'm not replacing, you know, I can't keep replacing phones. And he went back in his room, and I heard smash, you know, because he's got a metal futon. So I heard just like something connecting. And he come back out and he goes, it's broke.
2 pieces.
This is your phone. I'm like, what do you mean it's my phone? I didn't even know he took my extra phone, you know? And then I said, give me the phone. No, I'm not giving you the phone. I said, give me the phone. No, I'm not giving you the phone. I said, give me the fucking phone. He said, oh. And he took the SIM. I don't care about the SIM card. Just give me the phone. Set it right next to me, went to his room. I got up, got a bag, put the phone in it, marked down the date, because if anything happens, from the incident November 10th, when he went to the doctor, we decided he needed to get back into counseling, but she feels it's oppositional defiant disorder, and she wanted to find someone that can work with that. So he has an appointment with Velasco and Associates in January. It's all set up. So I was kind of like documenting everything, because between what's going on at school and everything, and even when I was in there with Mr. Vance, I said, I don't know what's going on, you know, this isn't him. He just, the last incident where he kicked somebody in the balls, he told us that it was a girl that said he had to do it or she would get someone else to do it to him. And that was like, why would you listen to a girl? Kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's been bullied his whole life, and his sister beat the shit out of him. So I don't, you know, he has PTSD from her. It's just, this isn't him. This,
So he had your phone that he broke.
my old phone
Because the screen on his was broke.
is
to
what
start with.
we're assuming. We didn't
Okay.
know his was broke at all.
Okay.
Had I known it was broke, we have insurance, you know, but it's still $50. But his Chromebooks broke at school too, you know, and they wanted me to give $100. I said, no. It wasn't broke when he left.
And right here, folks, comes the most uncomfortable question. Could Heather, his mom, have just, lost control and done a thing to Harley? Because, let us be honest, I am not a construction worker, But to imagine how someone puts a body in a chimney and then so neatly walls it all up so that not a single speck of dust falls, well, that, man, is a skill level worthy of some kind of Ocean's 11, not a family fight. Or another option is that someone dragged his body to the roof and dropped it down the chimney. That also, is not very plausible, especially considering that, as they said, there were always people around. Although, on the other hand, the version that Harley climbed in there himself also, you have to agree, sounds like some kind of nonsense. But you know what is most interesting and what, in my opinion, is the main proof that there is more to this than meets the eye? An interview with the police and one of Marcus's colleagues, Harley's father. It turns out that even people who were close to the family believe that there is more to this story. That the official version is just, a version for the public.
I do these roads in town. I see these cars. There is no way in hell that somebody abducted that kid on Fulton Street, not that time in the morning, because there's too much traffic. Even if it's dark out, there's still much. You got the kids going to swim classes. You got the people going to Edgewood Manor to go to work. You got the people going to Magruder for the physical therapy. You've got the employees. You've got everybody cruising up and down. Somebody would have got out of the car to pick that kid up. Somebody would have seen him.
It's a small town.
You got it. I know every car. Yeah. I said, because I explained the same thing. I said, I see the traffic coming down these roads. There is no way that somebody grabbed him. And I said, if that was him walking across that alley, I said, he's only got to go from here to Magruder Hospital and make a right. Mm-hmm. And from there, you only got 2 blocks. You got in front of the hospital, and then you got this. Then you got that. I said, somebody took your kid. And I says, it's somebody he knows. And that's how I feel. And he said, he said, well, I've come to a conclusion he's not coming back. He says, I just don't believe he's going to come back. He said, I don't know what happened to him, but he's not coming back. Then we got on the conversation about money. And he said, I need to get back to work. But during that time, I didn't see in his face that it bothered me, because I started feeling different. Because when I don't see emotion, something's wrong. My kid's gone, I'm going to be sobbing, I'm going to cry, I'm going to weep because of my children.
Every time you talk about it?
Every time. And I didn't see that today. And when he said that he come to agreement that his son was not coming, he's not coming back, something's
Like he made peace with it, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Did he say those words?
No.
Do you remember how he put it, Mike?
He said, I've come to realize, I've come to reason that my son's not going to come back. Okay. Pretty much.
So something to that effect.
Right around, I mean, there was a word he used, and I can't remember what it was, but, and then we started talking about money.
What did he say about money, Mike? I'm curious.
He said he had to get back to work. He could not afford to take off work. He said, but work had offered to pay him this week because he said, but I don't feel right about taking the money. He said, because I'm not there doing the job. And I told him, I said, listen, I said, you put a lot of work into this company, and I says, what they give back to you, you deserve it, because you took it away. They took your family life away from you. I said, so take whatever they're going to give you. And I said, if you feel bad about it, come back to work a couple extra hours over, don't, off the clock or something. I said, whatever you want to do. And he didn't really say anything about that. And he says, well, I got that insurance through work. And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, that insurance, if something happens to your kids or something. He said that it would, and that's when my gut dropped.
Do you remember what he said about that, Mike? Let's talk about
No, because I cut it real short. Because as soon as he said about the insurance, a light bulb flicked in my head.
Get the fuck out of there.
I didn't want to talk about it no more. Okay. Because I got real sick to my stomach. No man is going to talk about money in a life insurance policy on a kid. That's the last thing I would worry about was that.
He said that to you?
No matter how broke I am. Yes, he did. That's why that whole day I sat in that garbage truck analyzing everything that I've talked to him, everything that's happened. And I may be just, maybe it's something that it's not there. Maybe I'm grasping for straws like everybody else. But I'd bring him home. He got problems. I know he does. I've heard the stories. But the problem's that woman, she got issues. And I think she hurt him.
What makes you say that, Mike?
Because when I was sitting in there, I could see in her eyes, there was no remorse that he was gone. There was no feelings. It was like a fake. It was like being at church, listening to a preacher preach about something fake. He wasn't who he is. You understand what I'm saying?
I feel you.
You know a good pastor, you know a fake pastor. And that's what she put me to believe.
She was acting.
You got it. I'm not stupid.
Did she show any emotion?
No emotions whatsoever. She had a little bit of tears coming down her face, but they were fake, you could tell. Somebody knows something in the house. And after Marcus said that today, it really opened my eyes. I mean, I honestly believe they got more to tell than what's going on. Marcus, he's a friend of mine, but that whole thing about that life insurance.
And you know, honestly, I have gone over this case a few times, and to me, this seems more like a horrific, stupid accident, not an act of evil. Because let us be honest here, the Dilly family was, well, not a picture-perfect family. And the parents, it seems, just did not have a man instruction manual on how to raise a neurodivergent child. And after Heather herself almost passed away, it seems she just checked out on her son. You know, not in a bad way, she just had no strength left. And here, you know, I want to give some advice to all parents. If your kid likes to climb in chimneys, maybe just buy them a flip phone. Seriously. I know they were trying to teach Harley a lesson, like earn your phone. A great teaching moment. But man, at least so he could call 911 when he got stuck, right? And here is where the worst part begins. If he had that darn phone, could he have made a call? Well, if he was able to take off his jacket and pants in that tube, then he probably could have gotten a phone out of his pocket. Or maybe not. But, you know, it is all just what if talk. It is easy for us to sit here and judge, and his parents, I am sure, will now replay this in their heads for the rest of their lives. Heather herself said in an interview that she regrets not buying him that phone. Well, no kidding. A little too late for that, right?
Where's the library in conjunction to your home? Like, your house, hospital,
Here's my
school.
house, straight up 5th, the courthouse, and the library.
Okay.
It's right across from the courthouse.
Okay. So decently close.
Yeah, but not 8 minutes. I just, that's driving me nuts because I don't know where he would go or why. Can you say a direction? I mean,
I think the same direction, like the way the school goes. You know what I mean? Like when he walks down that alley towards the school, because that's where a camera caught him. Same way.
no. Now you really got me because there's nothing over there.
If Harley was to leave, like if he purposefully walked away and left, what would he take with him that if he didn't have, he'd be upset?
A phone if he had it, which, believe me, I pray to God I would have given him a fucking phone. He don't have anything security. It's always his phone.
How about just valuable though? Something that if he was going to go somewhere, he wants that.
And you know, when a thing like this happens, people just cannot let it go. They need a person to blame because the accident theory, it is just man too simple and boring. So of course the parents were the first to get the heat. People started blaming them for negligence. A theory even popped up that Heather might have just kicked Harley out like she had done before, and that he, poor kid, got cold and in desperation climbed into the chimney. And this version, honestly, has a certain logic to it. Because why would a kid who hates being dirty climb into all that soot unless he was completely desperate? But of course, the parents were not the only ones getting blamed. The police got some of it too, with people asking why they did not check the house sooner. Even the homeowner got some blame for not covering the chimney with a cap. You know, the classic story where everyone is looking for someone to blame. Although, in my opinion, not a single one of them, man, could have ever imagined that anyone would get the idea to jump into a chimney. And, you know the wildest part? This man is not the first time. I started Googling and honestly, I was floored. In 1977 in Los Angeles, a 14-year-old teenager went missing. He was found in a chimney. 28 years later, in 2001 in Mississippi, they found a 27-year-old guy. 15 years later, in 2008 in Colorado, an 18-year-old. 7 years later. So it turns out this is a weird but real thing that happens. The only difference is that Harley was found much faster. And you know the scariest part? If he had not pushed his clothes out through that vent, he might have been missing for decades too. That thought is very unsettling. And although I honestly am leaning toward the idea that this was just a horrific accident, one question still does not give me peace. How? How, man, was he able to take off all his clothes in that tube? I would love to see a person, some mythbuster, try to replicate that. Seriously. But if you put all these theories aside and just imagine what he was feeling, the realization that you are stuck, the attempts to take off clothes to free up even an inch to breathe, the screams for help that no one hears, and then the acceptance that this is the end. The panic, the fear, the claustrophobia, it is just horrific. To this day, the Dilly family lives across the street from that house. Can you imagine? Looking out your window every day and seeing the place where your child was found. I do not know how anyone can live with that. The owners of the house, by the way, allowed that chimney to be torn down, but they still have not decided what to do with the house itself. Harley should have graduated from high school this past May, and his school, you have to give them credit, honored his memory. They included his name in the graduation program and left an empty seat, a cap, and a gown for him. And of course, there are a ton of wild theories I have not even touched on because they sound like complete nonsense. That the cops are corrupt, that Elvis's body was in the chimney. You get the picture. It is just a tragic, stupid situation, and we will most likely never know 100% how and why he ended up there. I know we have been together for a long time today, folks, so I'm grateful to you for being with me. If you want more stories like this, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It is free, and it makes me happy. And we guarantee that every time you open YouTube, you will see my beautiful face with a new case. All right, folks, thanks again. And until next time, take care of yourselves.